Fast food chains serve millions of meals every single day, and the global appetite for processed meat is a primary driver of climate change. To adapt to mounting environmental pressures, quick-service restaurants have spent millions of dollars engineering and launching plant-based alternatives. But the industry is facing a crisis known as the menu gap. The menu gap is a phenomenon where the physical availability of these new plant-based items vastly outpaces actual consumer demand. Traditional advertising struggles to solve this problem. Billboards and flashy commercials rarely convince someone to abandon a comforting dietary habit they've held for decades. To bypass that resistance, researchers are turning to behavioral science and a concept called social norms. Social norms are the implicit, unwritten psychological rules that dictate socially acceptable behavior. Closing the gap between what restaurants offer and what people actually buy is a psychological challenge. It requires finding the exact phrasing to trigger a behavioral shift at the cash register without lecturing the customer. We observe this interaction right at the point of purchase. When a customer uses a modern digital ordering terminal, they make a split-second dietary decision. Researchers set up an experiment to test different psychological nudges directly on these screens, searching for the specific wording that converts a meat buyer into a plant-based buyer. The first variable they tested was a descriptive norm. This messaging strategy attempts to influence behavior by stating what a large group of other people are currently doing, such as a lot of our customers have tried a plant-based product. But in a physical restaurant setting, this approach fails. If a customer looks around and doesn't see anyone visibly eating from a green plant-based box, the message on the screen clashes with their visual reality, and they ignore the prompt. The second variable was an injunctive norm. Instead of stating a fact about what others are doing, this message pivots to acting as a peer recommendation, stating what others think you should do. These work well in online simulations, but for a global fast food corporation, printing subjective recommendations is a logistical nightmare. To avoid legal issues, a company has to conduct constant surveys to verify that the recommendation is true, requiring endless updates. A successful nudge must effectively hack human behavior while also remaining an objectively verifiable, scalable fact that a global business can confidently deploy. The strategy that checked all the boxes was a dynamic norm. A dynamic norm is a specific linguistic framework that highlights how a behavior is changing over time, rather than presenting a static fact. Researchers partnered with a major fast food burger brand and ran a field study across 45 restaurants in Germany. They placed a simple, dynamic message on the order terminals. More and more of our customers are trying a plant-based product. This chart tracks plant-based units sold. During the test phase, the blue dot representing the dynamic message group spikes, outperforming the control and descriptive groups. Human brains identify moving trajectories. An upward slope signals momentum, making us want to join an accelerating trend. Framing a sustainable menu choice as an ongoing, accelerating movement bypasses consumer stubbornness entirely. Testing this in Western Europe leaves a major variable unchecked. Does the instinct to follow a trend work universally, or is it isolated to individualistic societies? To find out, researchers conducted a parallel analysis of collectivism. Collectivism is a cultural dimension where individuals prioritize group harmony and social connections over personal expression. The data showed that people from highly collectivist cultures naturally chose more plant-based meals to begin with. But regardless of a country's baseline cultural identity, across the 8 nations tested, the dynamic norm message increased plant-based choices across the board. This chart reveals the spillover effect after removing the digital nudges. Looking strictly at the post column, the blue and purple dots show plant-based sales remained elevated. The entire progression from baseline to post-intervention proves a lasting shift. A temporary intervention rewired long-term purchasing habits. Fighting the global climate crisis often relies on slow-moving policy shifts and heavy-handed regulations. Point-of-sale nudges, in contrast, are cheap, easily scalable, and can be deployed worldwide almost instantly. Mandates face massive public friction. A simple, well-placed reminder that humanity is already moving in the right direction can quietly shift a global diet.